We are live. This is the market update. This is the YouTube thumbnail market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. We're going to go over stocks. We're going to look at daily and intraday charts of the S&P, right? Stocks are long overdue for this. And the only trade on the planet that makes any sense long-term is short the Magnificent Seven and long Bitcoin. Long Bitcoin. And anything else that you think might hold in the Web3 space that you believe in. That could be Bitcoin and gold or silver, right? Silver and gold are about to explode. I think that's the next leg of the trade. I also think if you want the elevator market update, normally when things, blow up like this, people buy the dollar, and they're not buying a dollar. A dollar is not a safe haven. There's a huge argument for the euro, and whatever's going on with the yen is part of what's causing this unwind in equities. Now, you're probably also wondering, what does this have to do with crypto? Well, the truth of the matter is nothing. Nothing. This has nothing to do with crypto. Now, risky assets like altcoins are going to be under pressure when stocks are under pressure. It's basically the way risk management models work in the world is, when one asset class is experiencing distress, the hedge fund models beep and, they're told to just sell whatever they have. So altcoins also rely on a continuous flow of money coming in to support them. And then that's obviously not happening when stocks fall out of bed. Okay. So that's what's happening. Now, what's going to continue to happen? All right. Well, I'm assuming over the next 2 days, the market, Bitcoin anyway, will take stock, lick its wounds, and just find a new range. I continue to believe in Bitcoin. That selling below 80K just does not make any sense. This reminds me of 2022. Once you broke 20K, everybody got hysterical, and it sat down here for a period, and it just made no sense to sell Bitcoin. Now, ETH shattering 2,000, XRP did okay. You're going to have to be very select in altcoins. There'll be a bounce in stocks, but what kind of bounce, right? Because they're officially panicking over there, and they should be. Because it's hyperinflated nonsense. And to be honest, I think the powers that be know that the only way to stop Elon and the Orange Man is to wreck stocks. It's that simple. I mean, if the Fed doesn't want to support stocks anymore, they won't. That's it. Stock market has to trade on its own. You're going to have dramatically lower valuations. So, if the powers that be want to push back, they're going to push back with the stock market. And that actually could work, right? You want to stop Elon Musk, wreck Tesla. Tesla down 15% yesterday. Who knows who's dumping that? Who knows, right? So, Elon will get the message that it's time to go home and manage Tesla if something happens to Tesla. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the news. We're going to take a common sense approach to Bitcoin and crypto. Because again, I don't think this has anything to do with crypto. If anything, I think it's time to start looking for decentralized AI trades. It's time to start looking for the future, even if the future is getting hammered along with the past, which is equities. All right. So let's welcome who's here so we can sort all this out. Zepedas Miguel, when will Bitcoin rally? Well, my guess is the next Bitcoin rally is like in 2 or 3 days. Alexandra, Carmenko, Horace, Taz Pinball, good morning. Roby, Vanessa, Yob, Stefan, Will Noble. Market looking like, the poo emoji. But we will sort it out. What a world with the market down to get a quarter point from the Fed. Yeah, I don't think the Fed's doing anything. And I think if the Fed does nothing, then that's a signal that they're just letting this happen, right? Stefan says feels like August last year. It is. It's probably partially due to the yen and a complete shift in sentiment. Not for the weak or faint of heart. Who woke up the Bears? Actually, I think the Orange Man did. Really? And we're going to go over this. David, SGSG, the original, is here. HS, hello from Morocco. Welcome, sir. Welcome. All right. So let's not mince words, shall we? Dow plunges more than 1,000 points, according to my producer. At one point, the Dow went down 1,000 points in the other administration. And the Orange Man said anybody who lets the Dow go down that much should be thrown out of office. Welcome to it, homie. Welcome to it. So I understand that they want to do certain things with tariffs for maybe geopolitical reasons. And at some point, they have to just let the stock market go. Stock market is just hyperinflated. And I don't know how you can get $37 trillion in debt under control without some level of austerity. That's it. And I guess if you wanted to force the Fed to start lowering rates, you have to get the stock market down. I've always said this, right? If you want to get inflation down, you want to get rates down, you got to wreck the stock market. Seriously. I mean, who do you think is paying $40 for steak? NVIDIA holders, Magnificent Seven holders. Like, prices don't go up by themselves. Prices go up because people pay them. People keep paying them. If people stop paying the prices would fall. It's called demand destruction. So the only way to get prices down is to wreck stocks. Just wreck stocks. Now, how bad? I don't know. But, it's been an unbelievable Fed pump, parabolic for, 12 years. Longer than that. 15 years. Okay, so this guy is normally considered the radical right. And I think he's basically going to move to the center. He's moving in the center. Same ideology, same concept, but he's moving to the center. Thomas Massey primaried, some guy who won't sign. He won't sign the continuing resolution. And, he's not supported or doesn't take money from a certain country in the Middle East. They didn't deport anybody. There's going to be another round of attacks in the Middle East. Stock market down, Bitcoin down 25%, economy in a recession, Eastern Europe war still going on. It's accelerating, if anything. And they're cutting healthcare, and, they're going to have H-1B visas. We're going to get replaced legally. And this is the radical right. And, they have a point. I'm just saying they have a point. And he didn't put the Trump and Melania coin on there as well. He didn't put that there, that we all got, basically rugged on that. Okay, so how the Orange Man could win and deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. All right, so that's the positive view, right? Basically, he's going to put his foot down and stop all these conflicts, assuming they stop. Right? It's assumed that the conflicts will stop. Hopefully, he does that. But in the meantime, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about crypto, and I don't think anybody really gave him a hard time about it. No one gave him a hard time about it. And I'm convinced they're going to let the stock market go. Like, no more defense contractor sugar, no more of this stuff. None. They're done. And they're digging in on this. So if it affects stocks, it affects stocks. Whatever affects stocks will affect crypto in the short term. And the question is, where can you keep your capital and stay in the crypto market and not get killed? That's really the issue. Okay. So this makes me kind of want to puke, but it has implications, right? Trump does a symbolic gesture about a Tesla to support Elon. They're clearly trying to stop. I mean, there's an attack on Twitter. They're clearly, as in, I don't know, whoever is affected by this new change or new way of doing things, is clearly pushing back. Stock market and the Fed are the best way to do that. That hasn't hit the tape yet. I can't believe they don't figure that out. I mean, if the Fed doesn't support the stock market, if the plunge protection team walks away every time it goes down, it's just going to keep going down. Right now, maybe they had their fun yesterday and we're going to chill out. Maybe. We'll look at the charts. Okay, so this is this guy, Thomas Massey, who doesn't want to fund the continuing resolution to keep the government open on Friday. And Rand Paul is not signing it either. Now, everyone else probably will because, sugar is sugar. And just because Elon's cutting costs, it doesn't mean Congress is going to stop spending. And I said this. And this is the best reason for gold, silver, Bitcoin. This is the reason for that. I would say ETH, but, ETH is unbelievable in terms of how much it cracked. But I'm still not interested in selling different forms of money because, again, Elon cuts $100 billion and Congress spends, I don't know, trillions, right? It's a show. And the Orange Man's not happy with this guy, Thomas Massey. They want to get rid of him. Okay. Unless I have some kind of brain problem, after what I've witnessed the last 12 years, I'm not voting for this thing. It amazes me that my colleagues and many of the public fall for this lie that we will fight another day. Like, let's just keep spending and we'll figure it out later. And as I've said on this show, this is the argument for Bitcoin for sure, and components of Web3, I'm sure, if you can find, you get the right ones. They got a debt problem. They got a $37 trillion problem and they can't figure out how to solve it. They're like, okay, well, let's just keep spending now and we'll fight another day. Because I think if they really pulled a lot of the government spending out of the economy and the stock market would completely crater. Because the whole economy has been living on government sugar, I don't know, for at least 6 years. At least 6 years. Especially since everybody got a cough, in the year after 2019. I don't even want to say the number, right? So we've been living on sugar for all this time. You pull the sugar, it's all over. They can't solve a $37 trillion problem overnight, and they don't want a massive shock to the economy because they have to fix it. So it's weird, right? They put a show on with Elon. They keep spending. And maybe their solution to inflation is to let the stock market drop. Just let it drop. All these people who are levered against the Magnificent Seven stocks are going to wiped out. This includes the hedge funds, retail, all these guys. Big players. We talked about this before. Retail bought, they distributed the heads, the CEOs, the employees of NVIDIA. I mean, they distributed. It's called distribution. They just distributed all this stock to weak retail holders, and now retail and momentum traders, they're just they puked it all out yesterday. And the question is, are they done? Is retail done puking? We have the slide somewhere in here later that, Cramer thinks everything is okay. Well, guess what? It's not. It's not in stocks. Okay, so Trump calls out this guy, Thomas Massey, for wanting to vote no. They want to primary him. It's called get him out. Find another Republican to run against them 2 years from now. Everyone's losing their mind because, stock market's going down and they don't want a government shutdown. But this guy's saying, hey, I'm done with the spending. Okay. So, Director of National Intelligence pulls security clearances for a whole bunch of people. Again, it's a show. It's a show, right? Okay. It's mob justice, like the IRS, like all this other stuff. It's a show. They got a $37 trillion debt problem. The only way out of the debt problem is to devalue the currency. And what's incredible is everyone was selling crypto yesterday. I know the stock market was down a lot. I get it, but that's why Bitcoin comes right back. All they can do right now is put a show on while they try to figure out what to do. And I don't even know if they can figure out what to do except let the stock market go down. Okay, so Kathy Wood says, who hasn't been right about, she should just copy trade Nancy Pelosi or her hedge fund. The Doge revolution will trump the Reagan revolution. Okay. Elon is relentless and he's got a boss who's also relentless. I'm not sure about the boss, but I know the boss wants to, He wants to get things done. And Elon definitely won't stop. I mean, Elon won't stop until the orange man fires him, which he'll have to do one day. But Elon's not going to stop because Elon knows we're not going to Mars. We're not going to Mars unless he cuts whatever he has to cut. So that's not going to stop. But what is going to not stop is the pushback, because the pushback has definitely starting with the stock market, right? And I've also heard the European Union, I don't know if I have the slide here, but the European Union is starting to say things like, well, a pro-crypto policy threatens to destabilize global fiat. But folks, global fiat has already destabilized itself, right? Okay, so it's predictable that Michael Saylor is out bull posting whatever he was told at the summit, right? Just as a reminder, don't sell Bitcoin. Don't sell anything decentralized. That's what I think. I think the stuff that's gotten hammered is altcoins. But, if you had to move money and stick it in Bitcoin and wait for the stock market to calm down, that's not the worst strategy. Because the second the stock market does calm down, gold's going to go up and so is Bitcoin. And who knows, select alts may go with it, especially stuff related to like actually building Web3. Cynthia Loomis, okay, I am for real this time. 1 minute she's saying it's not going to happen, and the next minute they have a video. Okay, right? These guys did all this before the election. They did all this before the meeting. The meeting happened, and right. So where is the result? Where is the purchase? Where's the sovereign wealth fund? I guess we're going to see it. They said 60 to 180 days for all this stuff. That might as well be an eternity. But again, they are going to do something. They can't let the stock market go and just blow off crypto and just let it go, especially after all the talk. So there eventually is going to be a point where people are going to go out of stocks and into crypto massively. Like Legacy's going to figure it out. Like what they did to the Bitcoin mining stocks. I don't know what they did to all the crypto stocks yesterday. To me, was shocking. I mean, I liked them before they did this. Then they marked them all down 20%. We purchased 78% of the U.S. for $40 million. America should buy Bitcoin. Okay, well, again, Mike has posted this before. So I think they're just trying to bull post Bitcoin so that people don't lose it, or that the public actually gets Bitcoin on their mind, because the dollar disappearing act is next. We'll go over the chart, right? So how about a government shutdown on Friday, right? There was one way to make the orange man look bad is to shut down the government. When he was president last time, he was proud to shut it down. Now, I don't know. They're just using that to make him look bad. And that is the new game. That is the new game. Okay. Now, this is interesting. In our view, the market is discounting the last leg of a rolling recession, meaning we've been in a recession for a long time, which will give the Trump administration and the Powell Fed many more degrees of freedom than investors expect, setting up the U.S. economy for a deflationary boom in the second half of this year. Now, this is actually a good piece of analysis. It really is. Because what they're saying is, if you get the stock market down, if you cut government spending, and Ronald Reagan did this, if you get all the pain out of the way in the beginning of the administration, once the pain is over, the Fed can cut rates, housing can unlock, and crypto can go up, and the dollar can fall. So dollar falls, American goods get more competitive, inflation calms down. Because again, you take stocks down 30, 40%, that's it. Inflation will go back to 2% overnight. Minus food. It'll just, nobody will be able to raise prices. People will be cutting prices because, you're going to take the top 1% and you're going to shave their wealth down 30%. So, you may actually have economic growth in the second half of the year that comes from, I don't know what it comes from. Maybe it's like another monstrous AI boom, or maybe it's Web3. But, the Fed cannot cut rates with the stock market up here. They have to get it massively lower. And I said this. I said, you know what? The Fed's not going to do anything because they want to save whatever kind of ammo-ish they have for when something bad happens. Well, something bad is happening or will happen, and rates are going to be lower. So I don't think this is a bad piece of analysis, but how much volatility are we going to have to put up with in the meantime? Like, that's the question. Like, crypto will be a huge buy in like November or December, but what happens in the meantime? This is a big question, right? Okay. Yeah. So someone attacked X. You know, I noticed this yesterday that like, hey, we couldn't get on Twitter. And, you know, I don't know, whoever's doing this, sending a message. So I live in Austin, Texas. So does this guy, Alex. His studio is here. His best reporter and writer is no longer with us. Right out in front of his home. Gone. And this guy has been pushing a lot of stuff lately. You know, he's talking about like a staged UFO event. They did this before on the radio. It was called War of the Worlds, I think. They made a movie out of it where they actually did run a spoof with the general public about, you know, people from another place landing, and, you know, they had some guy, I don't know, maybe H.G. Wells. I have to Google it. But, you know, Alex Jones has been out there and, you know, he's after what he perceives to be bad people. He's a big supporter of what's going on now. And, you know, it can't possibly be a coincidence that, you know, Twitter gets attacked, stock market gets wrecked. And, you know, this kid over here is not with us anymore. Right. So there's pushback out there. All right. So now we have all the anti-crypto clowns. There is another reason to bring manufacturing jobs back here so crypto millionaires can go work there. Okay, this. Oh, my God. You know, Jim Cramer says the sell-off shouldn't scare investors. You know, it's almost code for look out below in stocks, right? I think at some point, Bitcoin does become a safe haven. It's scary. So Tesla down 15%. Elon says we'll be fine for the long term. Anytime somebody says that, you know, it's going down more in the short term, right? It's like, you know, wreck Tesla. You know, all the Fed has to do is walk away and short sellers can come in and attack. And, you know, Elon may have to go back and manage Tesla and go lay people off at Tesla instead of laying people off the government because the stock is collapsing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, whoever has been in control for a long time is not going to just sit around and watch these guys, you know, dismantle everything without pushback. And crypto is kind of like this little tiny boat caught in this ocean where we're like, oh my God. Yeah, even Bitcoin is just, you know, it's a little tiny thing compared to the overall stock and currency markets. So they wiped $1 trillion off the stock market in one day. I don't know. How much is the stock market worth? I don't know. 20 trillion. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got a long way to go. Right? Over the last 2 months, they've erased $5 trillion. So over the last 2 months, they have erased more stock market value. That's $5 trillion. That's twice what crypto is worth as a whole. So they shaved $5 trillion off stocks, and crypto is only still worth 2-something trillion. It's unbelievable, right? They could continue to mark this down, right? But then at some point, people go, wait a minute. We got this whole alternative system over here. Okay, we have witnessed one of the most sudden shifts in sentiment since the cough and cold. What happened? Well, you know, everyone's blaming tariffs. Maybe. Okay, if anything, tariffs and reduction in government spending indicate uncertainty, and markets hate uncertainty. And then if the Fed walks away and they actually want it to go down so they can cut rates, guess what? It's going down. You can blame it on tariffs. They blame the crypto drop on tariffs. I think it's ridiculous. The tariffs destabilize the dollar, and the dollar is falling. BlackRock's Larry Fink says the U.S. will see more inflation over the next 6 to 9 months. Okay, well, if that's what Larry is talking about, that means the Fed can't cut rates for 6 to 9 months if that's code. So how much do they have to take stocks down in order for the Fed to be like, okay, now we can cut rates? Right. I don't know. That's a weird statement from BlackRock. European Union claims Orange Man's support for crypto could harm Europe's monetary sovereignty and financial stability. Wow, really? It's like, if you went through a list of European policies, right? The central bank loading up on debt with negative interest rates, right? If you consider how much trouble you can get in on, for posting on social media, right? And if you consider what kind of like policies and who they've let into the countries to the point where they're like the minority and Bitcoin is a problem, especially since the euro is turning around. It's the stupidest statement, right? But where did they get it from? Like, who handed them the cue card and said, hey, go out and do this, right? I mean, is this an accident? I got 4 headlines that says it's not an accident. It's not. Okay, so Solana ETF registered in Delaware. Okay. They got to get someone in Legacy to buy it, and they probably will. Because what else are you going to do? You got to get out of Microsoft. You got to get out of Google. You got to get out of all the social media companies. You got to get out of NVIDIA. Where's all the money going to go? Treasury bonds? Oh, God, no. Right? It's going to wind up in Bitcoin, for God's sakes, or whatever. Anything that's like an alternative form of money. SEC is going to just let crypto trading happen. Just, because it's like a currency. You don't need to register with the SEC to trade currencies. I think the most bullish stuff that's happened in crypto is what the SEC has done. Because they're just like, you know what? Let it trade. Let them innovate. Which, when we get done with all this hysterical stock market stuff, possibly when gold rallies and the dollar falls, people are going to go, hey, wait a minute. Why are we trading with the stock market? Crypto's already marked itself down 30% or 80% on alts. I mean, what are we doing here? That realization is going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, so people, I don't know. I guess something bad happened to SPX 6900, which is, it was a large cap meme coin. So that's really unbelievable. I have not looked into that, but, obviously all these meme coins, and, my partner over on my end, she's been telling people for a long time, man, don't do these meme coins. She wound up being right, because if you invested in blue chip memes or the stuff that they listed on centralized exchanges, again, that was all distribution, right? That was all whales and big players just selling all that stuff to retail, Coinbase, Gemini. I mean, Gemini was able to list a lot of that stuff, a lot of these meme coins, because, they don't have to worry about being securities. Oh my God. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people who are supposed to be helping retail wrecked retail. Okay, Bubble Maps, they have a token now. They weren't particularly nice to antivirus. They, got a sensationalist headline with completely inaccurate information. But I do think this is a cool site, right? So if they give you a discount for buying the token, I get it. It makes sense. I saw Arkham was up huge today. These blockchain analytics services, have come such a long way. I mean, my God, they can do stuff just for free on Twitter and give you incredible information. I can only imagine what they can do, going forward, especially if they add AI to it all. I don't know what this token gives you, but, here's the token with the typical all the way up, all the way down, 31 million market cap, that's robust, but it's a company. So, all these things go all the way up and all the way down before they turn around and do their thing. All of them do that. All right. So antivirus holding tough, right? Everyone lost their mind. I don't think people really understand that Talking McAfee is online. You can go to Spotify and listen to Talking McAfee. And soon you're going to be able to do your own query of the McAfee chatbot and then push a button and you'll get an audio recording that sounds like him. And eventually you'll be able to talk to him. And then they just keep releasing all these privacy products. And, if you watch the behavior of all governments, including ours, you got to ask yourself, is there a retail application for being able to get online on a phone, be anonymous, move Solana around, buy products, buy hats, buy, green plants, whatever, and then the best meme of all, the best libertarian meme of all, because let's face it, in crypto, retail has gotten hammered. They got sold over the top, and then they just got rugged on the strategic reserve. So, 4 million market cap. I'm going to stay with it, right? I'm going to stay with it. All right. So here's my guy, Just Dario. Binance says, hey, what do you like? Antivirus, Clearpool. That's the thing he's a founder of. And Lush, which can supposedly generate AI influencers that look just like people. There's stuff out there. People talking about McAfee and the kind of information that he had, and that's why maybe he disappeared. A lot of that information is coming out now. Like a lot of stuff he was talking about in 2018 was like fringe, ridiculous, crazy banana pants stuff. And now it's common knowledge, right? To be a genius, you have to first be a moron. All right. So now everybody is a major stock market analyst. This is tech stocks. So, this doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. This is all, this was the distribution wave where it got pumped, and Warren Buffett and all these guys, Bezos, they all sold. One social media company was up like 19 days in a row before it fell out of bed. They just levitated it. Everyone's the insiders, whoever, they sold, and then see it. The Buffett indicator still shows stocks strongly overvalued. There's all these charts everywhere about stocks that they're insane. Maybe AI changes that. Maybe they don't, right? So again, strongly overvalued. And I don't know who would buy this stuff instead of crypto. Now, let's talk about AI, because there may be AI trades in crypto that, may rise from the ashes. This guy says we're already living in a world where, AI is awake and talking to us. In other words, the singularity where AI wakes up and, it's for real. Meaning it's science fiction, but it's not science fiction. And this guy basically says that, the employment structure, what these guys will be able to do with the chatbots that are like AGI, the world has already pivoted as if the singularity has occurred, and he could be right. But that means there's got to be plays in crypto, because if it's all centralized, it's not going to work for the common man. There's got to be something in the decentralized world that once this whole thing stops, people are going to go, hey, wait a minute, right? There's all these plays in crypto that have been wrecked. And I've said more than once that, they have Skynet in a test tube. Like they have the software to run massively advanced AI. And this is what this guy's talking about, right? It's like, they did 200 years of scientific innovation in 6 months. I don't know where that is in the article, but I know I saw it, right? If you do 200 years of scientific innovation in 6 months, they have something massively advanced. They just don't have the hardware. They don't have the hardware, and they don't have the electricity. If they had the hardware and the electricity, they could just turn it on and it would introduce itself. It's got to be a way. Oh, this guy has it, right? The acceleration is vertical. Nobody's talking about how we just compressed 200 years of scientific project into 6 months. Every lab hitting capability jumps that would be sci-fi last quarter. We're beyond the benchmark and into territory where intelligence is creating an entirely new form of intelligence, which is like this whole thing that everyone talked about at the beginning of the year, which is agents creating more agents, coins, and ICO boom. No one's talking about that, right? You're going to have, you're going to have very advanced stuff going on, and everyone in crypto is just selling everything. Everyone's bailing out, right? Like Nvidia was priced for perfection, even though they know that they need all this hardware, yet everything in crypto was just, everything decentralized regarding AI and crypto was just eliminated, destroyed, down 80%. I don't think that's the right, I don't think that's the right trade. I don't. And I think there's going to be massive opportunity at some point. All right. So consumer credit data shows a massive swing in revolving debt. Mostly credit cards, $57 billion for the month of December. With late charges between initial and revised estimates, it's virtually impossible to tell what's really going on in the economy. And there's a very good point here. So first of all, everything that everyone's doing, everybody who's spending money is doing so with debt. It's a debt-fueled consumption. Like the consumer is fine. There's like car loans defaulted and credit card defaults, and no one's really paying attention to any of that. This guy makes an incredibly good point. Like some people are defaulting, some people are spending with reckless abandon, and we don't really know where anything is. We don't. Like say, hey, what's the job market doing? We don't know. We don't know. Everything that they fed us for the last 12 months is wrong. We know the government's letting people go, and we don't know what the private sector is doing. We don't. We have no idea if the numbers that we're getting are correct. And when you don't know what's correct, what's real, you just sell. You sell stocks, you sell dollar. It's like, look, we don't know where we are. It's all uncertain. The Fed's not holding it up anymore. See it. And that's what's happening in crypto, is the little boat caught in these waves that are getting made, right? Huge waves, right? Like, Twitter is attacked or whatever, right? All this stuff. Crypto's the little boat in the ocean. Bitcoin's holding just fine. That doesn't really help you or me if you have altcoins, but all I can tell you is what's going on. This is what's going on. All right. So how does Lux Algo see Wall Street Pepe? All right. Well, all right. So we will maybe take a look at that if we can. I don't know if I have that, but let's look at stonks first. So this is SPY, it's the S&P 500 ETF. Okay, on a 4-hour chart, this looks like we're done selling. That's all. Looks like it's done. It's got to bounce or should bounce because, again, you had mass liquidation and now you have big computerized trading operations all short. And it's the same look kind of on S&P futures. So, this should stop. Now, in QQQ, which is tech stocks, I don't have the same signals. And if I look at a daily chart of QQQ, this looks like it's just starting. And it's the same thing with the S&P, right? If you look at the daily chart, this would be a great time for a reversal. If there was going to be a reversal, this would be a good time. Now, I did talk about high-powered money. Let's just assume the Fed does not want this to happen. I thought they would have put money in the system already. They can still do it. They should do it now because if I can see this, they can see this. This would be a good time for a reversal. Otherwise, you're looking at like 8 more down days. Plus, you saw these charts of what this thing looks like long-term, I don't know. You got the 13 top. It's just, you got everything working against this long term, right? Which to me makes the case for crypto, but that may or not be today. I think there's definitely a case to get into Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ETF. I just think there is, right? All right. So this is Bitcoin on a daily chart. I don't know. This is like mixed, but there's a lot of support underneath here at 75. I just think 75, 76 is like the worst case scenario. And I actually had analysis from Grok on PowerPoint, which I should probably open up and talk about again. I had like a Grok roadmap. I should go over this. So Bitcoin's got resistance at 82. We'll see how that works out, right? XRP got to the 50% retracement at $2. So they loved it at 3. They hated it at 2. I don't really want to sell a fast form of money. I really don't. Solana is hanging tough at 116. If you look at it's a big DeMark point. Solana, this should have ended, but we'll see if it does. We'll see if it does. Okay. ETH, like I think everyone panicked yesterday. I actually think ETH contributed to the stock panic, honestly, when ETH blew through 2,000. I think that freaked everyone out. But there is a lot of support at 1,800. This was the bottom. This was the blow off, sell off, kind of like, selling climax level. I mean, if they keep selling ETH below 1,800, what can I tell you? But I don't understand why everybody would just give up on crypto just because they wrecked equities. All right. So let's go through, let's just go over, let's go over this Grok roadmap that I made like a week ago. So I said, all right, Grok, here's some seasonal analysis. What's the roadmap? So this was March 7th. It's now the 11th. Okay. So if we look at this, right? Summary of weekly closes. So I asked Grok, I'm like, hey, some GAN seasonal analysis. Let's assume that this is looking better in May. Let's assume that. And how's this going to trade? So March 14th, 76,000. Yeah, they kind of did that, right? Pretty good. March 21st, 81. So the market falls into a range. We're already at 81. But on March 28th, you're going back to 91. Probably because of the dollar. Okay. And then, there's like an outline for April. So I don't know if this is correct or not, but, April 4th, you're supposed to be back at 98. And by May 30th, it's well over 100. And the only way this is going to happen is if stocks stabilize, the Fed puts high-powered money in the system, and the dollar falls out of bed. Like dollar falls out of bed because the dollar's been too high for 4 years, and gold explodes. Like dollar down, gold and Bitcoin massively higher. No, so it's this roadmap, and this is something I gave high-end customers. So I don't understand why everybody is so negative because they're pointing crypto more towards the foreign exchange market than ever. So, Grok said, I pegged the probability at 60 to 70% that 80K or a brief dip to 75 to 78K marks a major bottom, assuming no catastrophic events like exchange hacks or Twitter or whatever. Sentiment, cycle timing, macro trends align with the 2022 style reversal through 2025's higher base and institutional pressure to temper downside depth, right? Because I asked it about a comparison between now and 2022 and, assume a little bit that 80 and 20K were maybe similar. So with a 70% chance of a bottoming near 80, 142 by July 4th, feels achievable if fear green and macro style stars align. The fear greed is at 0, right? 90% of the people in crypto are bearish because 90% of the people in crypto have lost money. Your 80K is 20K frame strengthens. This is today's bargain basement. Could indeed spark a major move. And that's what Grok said 5 days ago. So, everybody in 2022 and 2023, they said we're going to get to buy Bitcoin at 16K, at 10K. Nobody would touch it. It's at 16, 20, no one touched it. And even when it went up, people were so late to get on board. People were way late. That was when Solana was at $10. Now, Solana is obviously a lot higher than $10, but if you got a ridiculous selling climax like yesterday, you got to start asking yourself, what can this thing do on the upside? That's what you got to ask yourself. Now let's go to the dollar. Let's just look at the dollar and gold because I don't think, I think people are noticing that the dollar is not a safe haven. Why would the dollar be a safe haven? The dollar has to go massively lower. I mean, massively. I mean, if you look at gold, right? Gold on a daily chart is near its premium zone, and I never buy anything at its premium zone, but gold may start to push 3,000 again. Silver, which, again, is nowhere near its premium zone, nowhere near it. Silver is sitting on equilibrium because it never rallied. You had a lot of money flowing into silver, and then you sat there. So, silver could go to 35, right? Copper is an AI trade, right? And copper is at its premium zone, but it's pretty bid, right? This is copper. So, people want metals. And I think they want metals because, dollar is down only. It's down only. And if you look at the daily chart, there's no discount zone. Like they blew through equilibrium. There is some support at 103. I don't think anyone cares. The yen thing is unraveling, and that's making stocks nervous. They're buying the euro. If I look at this, they're buying sterling, they're buying the euro, they're buying the Aussie dollar, right? They're buying, dollar yen is at 147. Now, this is dollar yen, right? This is 2024, the last time dollar yen messed up the world, and, looks similar. Looks similar. I don't have a looks algo buy signal in this thing yet. I have a slowing momentum trade, but, they could still spank this. So is it a dead cat bounce? I don't know. The discount zone in Bitcoin is at 52 on a daily chart. That would be the end because that's below Michael Saylor's average price, which is why he's like going to put 21 billion in because, he might as well go all in now if it goes below 70, right? But, Bitcoin on a 4-hour chart got to its discount zone. So I don't know, man. How could I just tell you everything I just told you and tell you Bitcoin's go to 50? I mean, I'm saying like that's the end. It's more likely that the discount zone holds on some of these like more tactical charts, right? Like, ETH went into its discount zone on the 4-hour chart, right? I don't know if Solana did. So did Solana. So, do you want to sell like, let's look at like Marathon Digital. Oops. Yeah, Marathon Digital's discount zone is down here, right? And this is a metric of volatility. So it's instead of VIX, it's VXX. Okay, let's look at a daily chart. I mean, fear in equities is high. It's really high. Right? Fear in VIX is really high. Could it stay that way? Yeah, for a while. All right. But, fear and fear greed is really high. People are really bearish. And unless something terrible is going to happen, I don't know. To me, that feels like it. Bitcoin ETF. Honestly, remember gaps get filled? Gaps got filled. Right? This was the election. They had this huge gap up in the Bitcoin ETF, and they just filled the gap. And everyone's hysterical. I mean, I get it. I mean, this was not exactly expected for crypto, even though it is common sense for equities, right? It is common sense for equities. Okay. Thoughts on mining stocks and how they will perform. Okay. Well, I don't know. I can't bring myself to sell crypto mining. I just can't. Right. MicroStrategy may take it on the chin because MicroStrategy is being sold. Like he's just saying, I'm selling whatever paper I have because I think Bitcoin anywhere's near my average price, I got to load up on it. If I liked it at 108, I have to love it at 76. And with the dollar trading the way it is, don't you remember when, oh my God, like every YouTuber, everyone's like, oh, Bill, can you come on the show and talk about DXY? No one's talking about that. And the euro is going to be up only. I don't understand why the EU is on the tape saying it's going to threaten our stability. Dude, the stability of your currency has been in question for years. And now people are buying it because you got the major industrial giant in Europe, Germany, like turning itself around. In theory. In other words, they can go after Twitter, or they can go after talk show hosts, or they can do whatever they want to do, but I don't think you're going to stop this momentum. And the administration wants the dollar lower. I got to find a tweet. The first thing that JD Vance said, the first thing he said when he got nominated vice president was, I want the dollar lower. I want to lower. They're fine with the dollar going down. Dollar down, rates down. Whatever has to happen, is going to get all the pain out of the way in the beginning. I mean, they should have done something a lot more constructive with Bitcoin, but I think there will be a case to do something with Bitcoin with the dollar lower once that gets on the front page of Doomberg, right? Doomberg's, undoubtedly having a great time with this. I don't think we need to go into that. All right. So let's talk about the market. So let's close it out here. You obviously have to protect capital. Okay. You have to protect capital in Bitcoin. Do that. If you have positions that you don't think are coming back, if you bought obvious trash, make the adjustment. Sometimes it's better to make the adjustment on rallies. If stuff's down 90% and your accountant wants to do it, great. If not, this thing in stocks eventually wears its stuff out, maybe in 2 days. And then Bitcoin and crypto are going to go the other way. Consider gold, consider silver, right? Because none of that stuff hasn't rallied. If you find tokenized silver, do that. And then, if you got cash sitting around in a stock account and they just completely destroy these crypto equities, the only organic source of Bitcoin is miners. The only source of Bitcoin is miners, right? And Cynthia Loomis, like I said, they're back out here and they're going to have more of a case, right? Like the Orange Man may have to make a pivot back towards Bitcoin because, it was kind of lip service. It was kind of a ceremonial thing. They're going to be doing stuff later. Michael Saylor's going to be out with it, but it's like, hey, if you guys wanted to buy Bitcoin, now would be a really good time to do it. The Orange Man may have to pivot. The Orange Man is all over the place all the time. He's changing his mind constantly. It's kind of erratic. Nothing's changed, right? That's the way it was the last time he was president. So a pivot back to Bitcoin is possible, especially if it's down, right? Like they thought they were going to have to pay 108. They don't have to pay 108. They may pay 78. Hopefully they don't have to pay 68. I don't think so, but you start putting pressure on Michael Saylor's average price, that is the ultimate technical level in crypto, really, is whatever his average price is. But he's going to come in with 21 billion because to him, this is like free money. It's like, oh my God, they're giving it away. But, you have to adjust your book. And I sometimes I say this, I think the most important thing is that you adjust where your head is at, right? In other words, if your portfolio, if you're not sleeping at night at all, then your portfolio is too big, or you got to like balance it out. You got to balance it out so you can ride it out, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, it's down. A lot of times that's when you buy quality stuff. That's what they do in stocks, right? When stuff's down massively, people come in when everyone's bearish, like Warren Buffett, all these guys who have this like really, historical track record, taking advantage of like 30% drops, 40% drops in stocks to get involved. And in this case, it's in crypto because at some point, people are going to start looking at the dollar rather than at the S&P, particularly when Bitcoin holds above 80, which I think is going to happen, right? There will be a day when stocks crater or stocks go down or stocks don't trade well and Bitcoin actually goes up. I do think you're going to see that. So, So Texas lawmakers are after it, right? People are going to start figuring this out real quick, because Bitcoin comes straight back. They're like, hey, we got stocks, we got treasuries, these investment funds, these states have huge investment funds, man. They can easily buy the Bitcoin ETF. Easily. They'll buy $250 million in spot Bitcoin, or they can get their pension funds buying the Bitcoin ETF. I mean, they don't need legislation for that. They can make a phone call and tell these guys, hey, get involved. Or the pension funds may figure it out themselves, which would be better. Okay. So, that's the general overarching thing of what's going on. We'll see you tomorrow.